Summer as a good or bad season's widely debated by a lot of people, but I feel like most can agree summer during our childhoods was far more fun. Even beyond no school for the season, just playing outside, going to friends' houses more often, amusement parks, town parks, etc. And one thing that comes to mind we do more often over the summer, sports. The main summer sport being baseball. Baseball growing up was and still is today my favorite sport. Living on Long Island, New York, my family's huge, obviously on the New York Yankees. But a memory that comes to mind for me is before my experience with console gaming was computer games. I don't even remember the names of these, but some old SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, and Rugrats type computer game. But it was often kids' computer games. When I was 4, one of my very first experiences with computer games, video games in general, after Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside, it was Backyard Baseball 2003. Backyard Baseball is a children's baseball game that's a very simple, very easy to understand point-and-click sports game. It has cartoony quirks like power-up pitches and hits based on specific criteria as well as cartoony characters themselves, but it taught kids the fundamentals of baseball, while its core appeal is that you're playing with 30 unique, charming characters in the neighborhood to draft on your team. And alongside the highs of baseball like massive home runs, quick runs and steals, solid strikeouts and such, you're playing like a kid. Colossal errors and all across numerous fields, yards, and backyards. I loved Backyard Baseball 2003 growing up, and the franchise in general at that point. It spawned multiple other sports in the series, accomplishing the same core idea amidst backyard soccer, football, basketball, hockey, skateboarding, etc. But it was the characters, the music, the character walk-up and home run themes, the baseball fields, the colorful and cool then and now, classic and still sharp art style, the cartoony nature of it all. 4 to 5-year-old me was just utterly enamored by the world Backyard Baseball introduced, the feeling of being one with these backyard kids at that age. The bright summer afternoons I'd sit on my family computer in our living room, just pure waves of nostalgia looking back at those memories. But sometime later, several years I'd say into late elementary school, early middle school, somewhere around there, for a good 11 to 14 years or so, I completely forgot about Backyard Baseball and the Backyard series as a whole. I don't even know what it was, but I'm guessing with how much I delved into console gaming over the years, it just became a gray, non-essential memory left deep in my memory banks for so long. But around fall of 2024, doing this canvassing gig, walking around neighborhoods, knocking on people's doors, asking them which governor they're voting for. I did it because it paid $25 an hour. But perusing my phone and social media in between the shifts, on Twitter I caught a tweet of Playground Productions and Megacat Studios announcing a port of the very first Backyard Baseball game, Backyard Baseball 1997, on Steam and eventually mobile, and it straight up hit my mind like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. Just this massive eureka moment of recollection, nostalgia of growing up with Baseball 2003, Soccer 04, Basketball 01, Baseball 05, Backyard Skateboarding, etc. Just the series as a whole. This constant, oh my God, I love these games. I forgot about these games, right? And 100%, there's a good chunk of nostalgia at play. I mean, the people who know about Backyard Baseball or just the series, the cutoff was extremely early Gen Zers and late millennials. We're talking a franchise that was in its heyday back in the late 90s and early 2000s, over 20 years ago. I'm barely a Gen Zer, 1998, so I fit the criteria, but I also think it's a safe bet. A decent chunk of people who don't even know about Backyard Baseball have probably heard the name Pablo Sanchez, this short, unassuming boy with a big old pot belly that only speaks Spanish and has the best stats in Backyard Baseball, one of in Backyard Baseball 2001 and 2003's case. The powerhouse rock fanatic Ahmed Khan, the bulking comedian behemoth Keisha Phillips, the dim yet utterly fast and versatile Pete Wheeler, the glass cannon sassy Bronx flaunting diva Angela Del Vecchio, the favorite charismatic kid in the wheelchair Kenny Kawaguchi. Like, there are 2.5 dozen kids of varying backgrounds, traits, designs, ethnicities, and stats that make them so distinct and memorable. These guys were created in the mid-late 90s, for crying out loud. Like, these are the bread and butter of the Backyard Sports series. And it's hard to hate most of these kids for what they accomplish. And the gameplay itself, I won't sugarcoat it. It's a game for babies. It's babies for a sports game. I was playing this when I was 4 and 5 years old. It's not hard by any means, and I know it's a little presumptuous calling this the best sports game of all time, but the only other baseball game, the only other sports game I think genuinely compares to Backyard Baseball, and pretty much all the Backyard sports games are the 2 Mario baseball games, the Mario sports games in general, because I think we can be honest now, Superstar Baseball and Super Sluggers is quite some heat in terms of baseball games, and Battle League makes me sad, but the first 2 Strikers games, utter peak in terms of soccer. I don't think anything else comes close to those. Just the amount of tech and depth and layers to the gameplay and the mechanics and the stuff the games don't tell you about. The baseball and strikers ones in particular, but similar to the Mario baseball ones, Backyard Baseball, weirdly enough, has like a bevy of tech and layers to its mechanics as well. Characters have stamina called juice in the game, gauging their energy. The games tell you that, but all 3 classic Backyard Baseball titles, they don't tell you effectively. Characters like Tony Del Vecchio have absurd throwing arms than any other character. Ahmed Khan or Jocinda's batting contact is better than other characters. Characters having good batting stats can mean either good power or good contact or both. Characters like Kenny and Vicky Kawaguchi have great vision, meaning their swing spot when batting and catching circle when fielding is very small so they can manage precise hits and catches. Characters can have differencing attention/focus levels, meaning how often they go into their quirky animation when fielding, to where they don't focus on catching the ball when thrown to them. Like Mario Baseball gets so deep with characters' arm strength, slap hitting versus charge hitting, certain characters wall splatting, Boo and King Boo only having curved swings, bunt luring, the chemistry system, and so much more. Backyard Baseball basically has almost the exact same amount and type of depth as the Mario Baseball games. Like, it's genuinely crazy and hilarious given the game's main demographic, but you'll see plenty of content creators on here play whole seasons of Backyard Baseball and gameplay videos because it's more engaging and layered than the game makes itself out to be. And that doesn't even touch on the character pairings that buff and nerf certain characters, buffing characters based on team color, the field, whether being on the same team as another or against another character, the hot and cold day mechanic, etc. Backyard Baseball, primarily 97, 01, and 03, are just a genuine delight, both for grown-ass adults who grew up with these games and for newcomers in general, both audiences experiencing a surprising amount of depth and engagement when experiencing junior sports, and the golden goose humongous entertainment back in the day cooked up. There is a stroke of nostalgia when people glaze these games, but I think they genuinely are just good games that hold up to this day. If you sit down and play them, I think you can see for yourself. But by the mid-2000s, the series went into 3D, and not the worst, but the transition was not the best either, initially at least. The gameplay in the mid-2000s Backyard sports titles were still between fine to good at the time, but presentation-wise, it took a pretty hefty downgrade in general. Characters looked very derpy, very dopey. Models and anatomic elements were basically the same across all characters. They were aged up a couple years. And I have a soft spot for Backyard Baseball 2005 and Backyard Skateboarding, but hockey, basketball 04, still baseball 05 and skateboarding. Again, the mid to late 2000s games started to lose the splendor and appeal of the original titles, as well as ditching a lot of those deeper, unexplained mechanics, and even some of the explained ones the first 3 titles had. They just had considerably less charm than the original games. And then you get to the late 2000s, franchise still continued, but the games by the late 2000s and early 2010s, they were so much more generic, so much blander, so much more boring, both in terms of presentation and gameplay. The Backyard sports games were legitimately unrecognizable by the late 2000s with what games they pumped out then. We got a mobile game in the mid-2010s, but straight up, Backyard Baseball and Backyard Sports as a whole were flat out dead by the 2010s. You could say they died by the late 2000s with how they completely alienated entirely from how the games were in the 90s and early 2000s. Looking so safe, so generic, the gameplay being very basic and safe as well. But with only one light, still uber generic milquetoast mobile game in 2015, yeah, pretty much no one cared for Backyard Baseball by 2010 onwards. Like, it was straight up dead. Like, it was literally dead. There was no other way to put it. It wasn't always the most popular series. It had a following. Again, it did have a solid heyday 2+ decades ago. But even back, especially as the series went on, and especially nowadays, it's still kind of niche. A cult classic following. Definitely recognizes and loves the original games of the series. I'm not trying to undersell that at all, but again, it's pretty much millennials, boomers, super early Gen Zers that know about Backyard Baseball and those original games. Even then, if we're talking the OG Backyard sports titles, no, they weren't groundbreaking by any means. They were not evolutionary or the most iconic sports games in the genre or anything like that. And it's also not without flaws. The original baseball titles are a little slow-paced, downtime between pitches that could take a bit to sit through the older you get, not when you have all the time and attention in the world as a kid. The AI was made in the 90s, so there are glitches and plenty of jank that won't break the game, but will offer hefty wheels of cheese to your offense and defense. But Backyard Baseball and its sibling sports were very charming and engaging sports games. Pretty much anyone could pick up and experience the oodles of charm and its own flair and identity that made it stand out, that made it a really fun and creative sports game that still holds up decades later. You could tell it's a product of its time, but it really has aged genuinely well. It is still a fantastic sports genre of games that unfortunately kind of went AWOL and then it died until today. Rather, 2024, 2 years ago, Playground Productions and Megacat Studios acquired the rights towards the Backyard Sports franchise, and they re-released Backyard Baseball 97, Soccer 98, Football 99, Basketball 01, Baseball 01, and Hockey 02 on Steam and mobile. Baseball 97 is also on Switch and PS5 if you want to cop that. But they didn't stop there. We got an adorable, amazing, fantastic animated special on YouTube. Garnered more than 1 million views. Like, genuinely a charming and lovely animation to watch, even if you're not keen on Backyard Baseball. But if you like animation, they capture the characters' personalities, dynamics, and charm perfectly. I watch it several times a week. It's so good. It's so cute. It's so good. And then, at the end of that animation, they teased a return, a brand new Backyard Baseball game in 11 years, but especially the first brand new Backyard Baseball game respecting the series' roots in legit 23 years. Brother, I was not even in first grade when I first played these games. And to get a new game on the same level as those originals, when I'm 6 years out of college with my bachelor's, like, it's wild to me, man. It's so surreal. But you want to know the best part about getting this new Backyard Baseball game? It comes out tomorrow, July 9th. Less than 24 hours. That's not even the best part. It comes out tomorrow, July 9th, on my birthday. It's on my birthday. I'm turning 28. I'm pushing 30. That is not a fun time. You could put me on a guillotine and stick my head on a pike at that point, but they dropped Backyard Baseball 2001 on Steam on my birthday last year. Now I'm getting a brand new game on my 28th birthday tomorrow, and to be honest, the best part is that, but also just the fact this new game, yeah. I mean, it looks perfect, man. It looks so good. It looks like such a good evolution. Such a good, faithful recreation of the original Backyard Baseball formula. Again, Baseball 05 is worse than the first 3 games, but it's a guilty pleasure of mine. Same with Backyard Skateboarding. I think that one's a little better, though. But while our first 3D Backyard Baseball, it was not a cozy transition by any means. Again, the derpy faces, the kind of cheap models and landscapes, watered down mechanics, watered down gameplay depth, presentation, much faster pacing at least, but it wasn't hitting the same heights as Baseball 97, 01, or 03. Backyard Baseball 2026 is actually trying to take those original character designs, those original stadiums, that art style, and faithfully translating them to 3D. Like, that all on its own was such a good sign. And they look fantastic, a much better improvement compared to 05. They're adding more animations and visual quirks to their personalities and designs. They're also updating all the stadiums in the original game with extra textures, graffiti, models. The fact it's 3D as well gave the developers a lot more wiggle room with the camera and its movement during gameplay, home runs and whatnot. Like, this is a modern, next-gen Backyard Baseball game. Like, isn't that crazy? Art style wise, it's not the best looking game by any means, sure. But it is a new, modern entry in the series, and it is taking advantage of modern game development standards and resources. You can play the game in 4K if your PC would allow it, and higher shaders, lighting, textures, and whatnot. God, I wish I had an RTX 5090. But the art style, the graphics themselves, details, the lighting, the colors, the animations, perfect. The game looks very vibrant, it's very artsy, stylized. Even the voice acting, just the overall presentation of the game so far, like, it's perfect. It's literally perfect. And that matters a lot for Backyard Baseball. It looks like just how I would envision a newer version of Backyard Baseball 97 future entries couldn't live up to. Mechanically, gameplay-wise, it also looks like a faithful, competent version of the original game as well. It's not as fast-paced as 05, but it is faster paced than 97, 01, and 03. And I think that is really good that they found a sweet spot to not make the in-betweens too boring or slow. All the fields function as normal. It looks like characters and their stats and attributes will align closer to how they function in Baseball 01 and 03, which is also perfect. We do have the out of 10 baseball stat cards, which they were listening to feedback because they were originally the out of 4 stat cards that the original game had, and everyone was like, no, can we do like the out of 10 stat cards? And they're like, bet, here you go. So they are listening to feedback. They are listening to the fandom with this new game, which is It's just a good feeling, man. It's just a really, really good feeling. The gameplay itself looks fantastic. Like, it literally looks like the same exact kind of gameplay from the originals. We're also getting several new modes in this game. Backyard Derby is one of the new ones. We had a demo for that, and it is a pretty fun mode. There's going to be local and online multiplayer. Massive W right there. There's a day and night cycle for the stadiums now. Like, they had fireworks whenever you get a home run. That's really cool. They managed to add several pro players from Baseball 01 and 03 to this new game. Like, even after all these years, they had so much aura. They were so good enough that they managed to renew the licensing for some of the pros from the original games, which is insane because, dude, I don't think anyone was expecting any of the pros to be brought back for a new game altogether because they've been retired for God knows how long now. Like, that's really cool. Like, literally everything about this game, this new entry in the series looks so good, so polished and thought out, so purposeful. Like, they're trying to appeal to older fans like me and the dudes who grew up with these games, but they are trying to make it just a better version of the original games so newer audiences, young and old, could actually get into it. Like, Playground Productions, Megacat Studios, Lindsay Barnett, everyone that has the rights to this franchise and are making this game, they know exactly what they're doing. They know what made these games special, and they're doing the best they can to revitalize this cult classic IP. And they got my flowers for pretty much firing on all cylinders. My only critique, there's only one. I'm not a fan of the newer walk-up songs. The character themes that play when viewing their cards, when they get a home run, I think that's also kind of a key part of Backyard Baseball, because that's pretty much your reward for hitting a home run, and it highlights the characters' personalities and stats as well. I hope the final version has the themes redone to be as varied and quirky as either Baseball 97's themes or Basketball 01/Baseball 03. I could get used to them, but I'm not feeling it so far. If not that, I hope there's an option to toggle between both the 97 character themes and the Basketball 01/Baseball 03 themes. The latter are my personal favorites, but there are fans that do also argue, this is more of a critique I think more people share, they argue the chatter could be increased in frequency, you know? One key note of presentation, some people don't like it, it's not their cup of tea, but it is kind of a core part of Backyard Baseball, how much this AI and CPUs feed you. We want a batter, not a broken ladder. We want a pitcher, not a hairy itcher. Hey, you there, batter. The kids are comparing you to broken ladder. Just the constant chatter and taunts. It wasn't as frequent from what we saw in the new game. I think they could bump it up a little bit more. People don't like it. You could always turn it off, but they could just touch it a smidge more. But between that and the walk-up music I was talking about, you can argue, oh, that's just music in secondary/tertiary sound clips. Like, that's not nearly as important as the presentation, the gameplay, and whatnot. And, like, that's fair, but presentation was always, like, a key thing with the Backyard Sports titles. But even with that, right, like, even still, like, you could pretty much play all the character themes on a kazoo if you wanted to. I'm just glad they're replicating the sauce the original games had perfectly, both in a new game, and also the promo material, like the animation special on YouTube, the opening for the game, the trailers, the cinematics. Like, I just can't envision a better looking evolution, remake, sequel, or update to one of my core childhood games. And child me, deep inside, is so cathartic and giddy beyond words can even express. Adult me feels that and immense satisfaction, like I get to relive my childhood. As with many more fans, newer, younger generations, and people around my generation who missed out and may be interested to get into a fun, flavorful, and charming baseball game with a lot of cute and fun characters. I'm uploading a gameplay of me playing 97 right now. I'm wondering what I'm gonna stream tomorrow because it's my birthday. I always stream on my birthday. I could do either a stream or a gameplay video. I'm probably gonna do a gameplay video of the new Backyard Baseball. Still need to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. I could start Mario Kart World. I could. Or play the safe option, just do a Smash stream. Or something else entirely. God, I wish I had an NVIDIA GTX 5090, but we know exactly how the PC market is right now, sadly. That said, this new Backyard Baseball isn't going to need that many requirements for power with PC specs. It's coming to console too. I do wonder what the price is going to be. Kind of hope it's 20 bucks, 30 at most. I'm hopeful. I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm hopeful it'll be priced fairly, or it'll be priced at a generous barrier of entry, because the remasters and ports of the original games are $10 each on Steam, $5 on mobile, and basketball and hockey are free on both. So I kind of feel like the studio and developers know what they're doing with this game, fortunately, and that's going to continue to stick. But hopefully I can do Backyard Baseball and Backyard Sports content on the channel. Ooh, Backyard Baseball videos, ooh. And do such content that many people will enjoy and like. So let me know if you like this discussion in my upcoming videos on Backyard Baseball 97. and 2026. Let me know your thoughts on Backyard Baseball as a whole, the series, this new game, if you're an old school fan like me, or if you're interested in trying it out, comment down below. Thank you for watching. You're gonna have to start calling me Uncle SMT or Unc SMT, Unc T if I'm 2 years away from hitting 30. Oh God, that hurt. But I'm hyped, I'm nostalgic, and I'm excited for this backyard baseball, backyard sports renaissance. Stay super.